Something about that night felt different, and fans noticed it almost immediately. At first, no one could quite explain what it was. There was no scandal, no headline-breaking moment, no unexpected announcement. The award night unfolded the way award nights usually do: applause, speeches, camera flashes, familiar faces stepping in and out of the spotlight. But as clips began circulating online, viewers started pausing, replaying, zooming in, not because something obvious had happened, but because something subtle had shifted. Song Hye Kyo walked onto that stage the same way she always does, composed, elegant, effortlessly calm. Her smile was there, her posture flawless, her presence unmistakable. Yet fans kept saying the same thing in comment sections across platforms: she looked different. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that could be pinned down easily. Just different. Some said it was in her eyes. Others pointed to the way she smiled, softer, slower, almost guarded. A few fans mentioned how she seemed more introspective, less performative, as though she was somewhere else emotionally while still fully present physically. And once that idea took hold, people couldn't unsee it. What made the reaction grow even louder was the timing. This wasn't just any award night. It came after a period of relative quiet from Song Hye Kyo, fewer interviews, more thoughtful responses, a noticeable shift in how she spoke about her work and her life. Fans who had followed her career for years began connecting dots, wondering if what they were seeing wasn't exhaustion or nerves, but evolution. Then came the moment everyone keeps replaying. As another award was being presented, the camera briefly cut to Song Hye Kyo in the audience. It was only a few seconds long, the kind of shot that usually goes unnoticed. But this time, fans froze the frame. Her expression wasn't blank. It wasn't emotional in a dramatic sense either. It was calm, reflective, almost tender. As if she was listening not just with her ears, but with something deeper. From that point on, theories flooded in. Some fans said it looked like closure. Others described it as peace. A few even said it felt like the expression of someone who had already processed something significant internally, long before the public ever caught on. What truly fueled the conversation, though, was what happened after the award night. Song Hye Kyo didn't address the chatter. She didn't clarify anything. She didn't post a behind-the-scenes photo, or a caption explaining her mood. Instead, she returned to her usual rhythm, quiet, intentional, measured. And in today's celebrity culture, silence often speaks louder than statements. Fans began comparing her demeanor at this event to past award nights. In older clips, she appeared more animated, more outwardly expressive, more in sync with the celebratory energy of the room. This time, while still gracious and professional, there was a sense of inwardness, as though her emotional center had shifted inward rather than outward. That's when the conversation deepened. People stopped asking, what happened, and started asking, what changed? Some fans suggested that the difference had nothing to do with any single moment, but with a larger internal transformation. The kind that doesn't announce itself loudly, but subtly alters how someone carries themselves. The kind that shows up in the eyes before it ever reaches words. And then, almost inevitably, fans began linking that night to other recent moments, interviews where Song Hye Kyo spoke about self-love, balance, and learning to protect her peace. Quotes that once sounded reflective now felt almost prophetic when placed beside the award night footage. It wasn't sadness fans were seeing. That much became clear quickly. If anything, many described her presence as grounded. Centered. Like someone who had reached a quiet understanding with herself. Still, the question lingered, why did it show so clearly that night? As the days passed, the conversation around that award night didn't fade, it evolved. Fans began noticing how often the word different appeared in discussions about Song Hye Kyo afterward. Not changed. Not troubled. Just different. As if the audience had collectively sensed a shift, but lacked the language to define it fully. Some pointed out how she interacted with others that evening. Polite, warm, but slightly reserved. Her gestures were gentle, her laughter brief but genuine. It wasn't detachment, it was discernment. And for long-time followers, that distinction mattered. Others focused on her styling choices that night. The simplicity of her look, the absence of anything overly dramatic. It felt intentional, understated, almost symbolic. As though the focus wasn't on commanding attention, but on authenticity. Then came the comparisons to recent interviews released shortly after the event. When asked about her career and personal growth, Song Hye Kyo spoke with clarity and confidence. There was no bitterness, no nostalgia-laced regret. Instead, she talked about learning, choosing herself, and embracing where she is now. For fans who had watched the award night closely, those words felt like a continuation of the same emotional thread. It became clear to many that what fans were reacting to wasn't a momentary mood, but alignment. Alignment between her inner world and outer presence. That's why the award night felt so striking. It wasn't a performance. It was a glimpse. Some fans even described it as the look of someone who no longer feels the need to prove anything. Someone who has reached a point where validation comes from within, not from applause or trophies. Of course, not everyone agreed. Some dismissed the entire conversation as overanalysis. Others reminded fans that a single evening doesn't define a person's emotional state. And they weren't wrong. But the reason the discussion persisted wasn't because of speculation, it was because of consistency. The same calm, reflective energy appeared again and again in Song Hye Kyo's recent public appearances. The same thoughtful pauses before answering questions. The same measured tone. The same quiet confidence. That award night simply made it visible. In a world where celebrities are expected to constantly project excitement, gratitude, and enthusiasm, there was something refreshingly human about her presence. She didn't seem distant, she seemed present in a different way. Present with herself. And that's what made fans emotional. Because watching someone evolve in real time, especially someone they've admired for years, creates a strange intimacy. It feels like witnessing a private moment through a public lens. By the end of the week, one comment summed up the collective sentiment perfectly: she didn't look sad. She looked settled. And maybe that's the most dramatic part of all. Not heartbreak. Not mystery. But peace. A kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained, only recognized. And for many fans, that award night will always mark the moment they realized Song Hye Kyo had quietly stepped into a new chapter, right before their eyes. Watch the next part in my channel.